The louder you are, the less people respect you. It sounds completely backward, doesn't it? We've spent most of our lives believing that confident people speak more, explain more, and never let their voices disappear into the background. But if that's true, then why is it that in almost every important room, the person who speaks the least often becomes the one everyone listens to? That's the strange paradox. The people who chase attention usually receive it, but the people who quietly earn respect rarely have to chase anything at all. And the third reason behind this might completely change the way you communicate for the rest of your life. Most people never notice this. The mind follows invisible rules until you understand them. Welcome to Mind Forge. Respect follows scarcity. Imagine you're walking through a luxury jewelry store. One display case is packed with sparkling gemstones. They're beautiful, polished, and impossible to miss. A few steps away, another display holds only a single diamond. No flashing lights. No dramatic presentation, just one stone resting quietly under the glass. Which one catches your eye? Almost everyone chooses the diamond. Not because it's louder. Not because it's brighter. Because your brain instantly associates scarcity with value. And whether we realize it or not, we judge people in exactly the same way. Every conversation works like a marketplace. The more freely someone gives away their words, the less valuable those words begin to feel. They explain every decision, defend every opinion, and fill every uncomfortable silence, not because they have something important to say, but because silence makes them nervous. The problem is that the brain notices patterns. If someone always speaks, we stop expecting anything important. But when someone speaks only after they've listened, observed, and actually thought about what they want to say, something changes. People lean in. Not because the voice is louder. Because the words suddenly feel expensive. That's why the most respected people rarely waste sentences trying to prove who they are. They let every sentence carry its own weight. Every extra word quietly lowers the value of the next one. Think about that for a second. How many conversations have you had where you kept talking, not because you had something meaningful to add, but because you were afraid of the silence? Sometimes, silence isn't awkward. Sometimes, it's where authority begins. But that's only the surface. Because the real reason quiet people command respect has almost nothing to do with the words they choose. It has everything to do with what happens inside someone else's mind the moment those words stop. People respect the story they create about you. If the first discovery explains why speaking less makes your words more valuable, this one explains something even more surprising. Sometimes, people don't respect what you tell them. They respect what their own minds discover. Think about the last time you met someone who made a strong impression on you. Chances are, it wasn't because they spent the entire conversation talking about themselves. It was probably the opposite. They asked thoughtful questions. They listened without rushing to interrupt. And when they finally shared an opinion, it felt measured, almost effortless. Hours later, you were still thinking about them. Why? Because your brain dislikes unfinished stories. Whenever information is missing, it quietly starts filling in the blanks. Without realizing it, you begin creating a picture in your own mind. They seem confident. They probably know more than they're saying. They don't look like someone who needs attention. Here's the fascinating part. They never actually said any of those things. You did. Your own mind created that story. And stories we create ourselves are often far more convincing than stories someone tries to sell us. That's why the person who constantly talks about how successful they are often feels less impressive than the person who never mentions success at all. One is asking you to believe them. The other allows you to reach your own conclusion. Human beings naturally trust conclusions that feel like they belong to us. That's why quiet confidence is so powerful. It doesn't force admiration. It invites it. People rarely respect the image you try to create. They respect the image their own mind creates for you. Take a moment and think about your own conversations. How often do you explain yourself? Just to make sure people understand who you are. How often do you keep talking because you're afraid they'll misunderstand you? Ironically, the more desperately we try to control how people see us, the less authentic we appear. Sometimes, saying less doesn't hide your confidence. It reveals it. But even this isn't the deepest reason quiet people command respect. Because respect isn't built only by mystery. It's tested in moments of pressure. And that's exactly where most people lose it. Real authority begins where emotional reactions end. There's one final reason quiet people command respect. And surprisingly, it has nothing to do with silence. It has everything to do with control. Think about the last argument you witnessed. Maybe it happened at work. Maybe it happened at home. Or maybe it happened online, where complete strangers spend hours trying to prove each other wrong. At first, both people believe they're fighting for the truth. But if you watch carefully, something else begins to happen. One person starts speaking faster. Their voice gets louder. They interrupt. They repeat the same point again and again, hoping that saying it with more force will somehow make it more convincing. The other person does something completely different. They pause. Not because they don't have an answer, but because they refuse to let their emotions answer first. That pause lasts only a second, maybe two. Yet in that tiny moment, the entire balance of power changes. Because the human brain isn't just listening to the words. It's constantly asking another question. Who is in control here? And almost every time, the person who appears calm becomes the person who appears credible. Not because calm people are always right, but because self-control is one of the strongest signals of confidence our brains can recognize. Anyone can stay calm when life is easy. The real test comes when your ego feels attacked. When someone misunderstands you, challenges you, or treats you unfairly. That's the moment most people rush to defend themselves. Ironically, the harder they fight to protect their image, the more fragile that image begins to look. Truly confident people understand something different. Not every opinion deserves a response. Not every criticism deserves your energy. And not every battle deserves to become your war. Sometimes the strongest answer is choosing not to react at all. Because silence isn't surrender. It's self-command. The first person who loses emotional control is usually the first person who gives away their authority. Take that with you today. The next time someone interrupts you, don't race to interrupt them back. The next time someone misunderstands you, don't feel pressured to explain every detail. Pause. Breathe. Give yourself 2 seconds before you answer. It sounds almost too simple. But those 2 seconds can completely change how other people experience your presence. Because people rarely remember who spoke the most. They remember who remained steady when everyone else lost control. And that is where quiet confidence becomes real authority. Here's something I'd like you to try before this day ends. In your very next conversation, allow one moment of silence that you would normally rush to fill. Just one. Listen a little longer. Think a little deeper. Then speak. Not to impress anyone. Not to prove anything. Simply because your words are ready. Pay attention to what changes. You may discover that people don't value you more because you speak less. They value you more because every word finally feels intentional. But speaking with intention is only one part of commanding respect. There's another habit that quietly weakens your confidence before you even open your mouth. It's the invisible habit of seeking validation. Most people don't even realize they're doing it. And once you see it, you'll never look at confidence the same way again. If you're building a mind that commands respect instead of chasing attention, make sure you don't miss the next episode. Because every week on Mind Forge, we uncover another hidden rule of human psychology. One discovery at a time. This is Mind Forge. Forge a mind that commands respect.